So I hope by now we are very comfortable with what we mean by functions and how to find the value of a function at a given point. So basics are in place, and now we want to move towards composite function. The essential idea, the basic game will remain the same. So for example, I say what is f of g of x. So if you compare it to what you have done earlier, still there is a function of x, there are two brackets left on and two brackets on the left and right side, and whatever is in between those brackets should be put in place of x. So I'm starting with very easy example so that the game is very clear. F of x is given as 2x. I'm asking you to find f of g of x, right? That means wherever there is an x, put a g of x. And now you know what g of x is. It is 1 by x, so you will say 2 into 1 by x, and your overall answer would be 2 by x. Let's go in the other direction. What if I put the g outside and f of x inside? That means this is my primary function that I have to think about. Wherever there is an x in the story, instead of the x, put whatever is inside the bracket. That's the game that I have been playing, right? So inside the bracket, this time there is a f of x. So I will rewrite this as 1 upon f of x. And I know, now I can replace, I know the function of x, so I can replace it so, and I can say g of f of x is going to be 1 by 2x. And I can keep extending this game. That means I can put another layer of function outside. Now what does this mean? There is a function of x, the definition has been given to me. Now inside that I'm putting these two functions, but luckily I had already figured out the value of this whole thing. That is nothing but 2 by x. That means now inside my operator is 2 by x. That's the value, or that's the location at which I want to find the value of this function. That means wherever there is an x, replace it by a 2 by x. So I will put 2 into 2 by x, and this function, or f of g, is going to give you a 4 by x. So it's up to you how many layers you want to add, or maybe depending on the equation. But the point being that you can keep going and keep or the overall point being that you can keep adding as many layers as you want, and your essential game remains the same. No matter how many times I write the function outside, it just means wherever there is an x in the story, put whatever is between those two brackets, right? Input and output game. So what is the meaning of this and how do I work this out? So f of f of x, right? So let me start from the center of the story, the innermost point. What is f of x? I know f of x is a x square. So instead of this f of x, can I put a x square in the story? So forget the outer brackets again and think of and focus only on this part. F of x square. I know f of x is equal to x square. That means wherever there is an x, put whatever is between the brackets, right? So wherever there is an x, instead of a x, I will put a x square. But remember, this x itself had a square, so that will remain. So if I'm looking at this function only, the meaning of this function finally would come out as x raised to 4. Yet there is another function outside. What does this mean? Wherever there is x in the story, put a x raised to 4. Earlier we were putting simple numbers. Now we are putting complicated expressions. So the abstract complexity is going up, but otherwise the game is still the same. So my basic function, remember, because that's my ultimate definition, was equal to fx is equal to x square. Now wherever there is an x, put a x raised to 4. So x raised to 4, and there is a square on top of that, so I will get a x raised to 8. Right? So I am putting layers of functions on top of each other. In the previous example, we were playing with two different functions, but that layering can be done on top of the same function as well. Something we'll encounter again in more detail. It becomes a separate topic, and we call them iterative functions. A lot of fun to play with and find patterns as such. But as of now, we're still dealing with that, okay, the input for a function can be another function. If we want to summarize what we have done so far, the input of a function, of any given function, can be another function or an expression, or I can just write a whole sentence here. What does that mean? Take grok and put it instead of x and square it, right? That's the basic game. So staying with the idea of composite functions, f of x is given as 1 upon x minus 1, g of x is given as x plus 1. So let's find f of g of x, and let's also find g of f of x, right? So we already know the game. Wherever there is an x, I want to put a gx. Let me simplify this step because I know a gx is a x plus 1. And this means wherever there is an x, put a x plus 1. So let me continue that story. 1 upon, instead of a x, I want to put a x plus 1. And then there was a minus 1 anyway. This plus 1 and minus 1 will get cancelled, and I will get the overall function as 1 by x. What about g of f of x? Instead of f of x, write the value. I know this is 1 upon x minus 1. G of 1 upon x minus 1 means what? Wherever there is x in the story, in the g story, put a 1 upon x minus 1. Instead of a x, I am putting a 1 upon x minus 1 and then just adding a plus 1. Work this story out. The denominator will remain a x minus 1. The numerator, there will be a 1 from here, and there will be a plus x minus 1 because this is 1 upon 1. To create a denominator of x minus 1, you'll find the LCM of these two. So 1 into x minus 1, so that will come in the numerator. I'm assuming everybody knows this. So g of f of x is going to be 1 upon x is going to be equal to x upon x minus 1, right? F of g of x, g of f of x. Now I also know I can find g of x. I can find the f of x. I can find a f of g of f of g of f of as many situations I want to create, as long as I know the basic game that whatever is inside the left and right bracket should take the place of x in the original function. That's the basic game. As long as we know that, rest everything we can figure out. One more example with composite functions. Fx is given as so, gx is given as so, and f of g of f of x is equal to g of f of g of x. What is the value of x? So obviously my first step is going to be figure out these functions individually. So let's start with that. Let's think about this function and let's start from the center of the function. What is f of x? F of x is a 2x plus 3. So instead of this, I can write a 2x plus 3. What does this mean? Focus at the next level. G of 2x plus 3. You know what g of x is. Instead of x, everywhere there is an x, put a 2x plus 3, right? So let's do that. G of 2x plus 3 is going to be 3. Instead of x, I will put a 2x plus 3 and I will add a 2. So I will get a 6x plus 9 plus 2, which is equal to 6x plus 11. That means instead of this, I can now write a 6x plus 11. What does this mean? Remove the brackets accordingly. What does this mean? F of 6x plus 11. It means wherever there is an x, put a 6x plus 11. That's all. And continue the story. I will get a 12x plus 22 plus 3, which is equal to 12x plus 25. So finally capturing everything together, my left side of the equation is going to be 12x plus 25. What was this function? What is it that I'm finding? F of g of f of x. This is what I have done so far. This is what I have found so far. And I know this is equal to this function, g of f of g of x. So again start playing with the story. What is g of x? G of x is 3x plus 2. So just instead of gx, write 3x plus 2. What is f of 3x plus 2? F of x is 2x plus 3. So f of 3x plus 2 is going to be equal to 2 into 3x plus 2 plus 3. Just carrying over the 3 here. This becomes 6x plus 4 plus 3 or 6x plus 7. So instead of this f of 3x plus 2, I can write a g of 6x plus 7. What does this mean? Again, instead of the x, put a 6x plus 7. So 3 into 6x plus 7 plus 2. this will give me an 18x plus 21 plus 2. 18x plus 23. I know these two equations are equal to each other, so 12x plus 25 is equal to 18x plus 23. And the final value of x is equal to 1 by 3. So a few number of steps, but none of the steps in themselves are going to be difficult. And I hope that you see, if there is a layer of functions, you start from the center or you start from the middle and you keep coming outwards. Otherwise, not too much of a challenge here at all.